Well, something that Nintendo isn't beating somebody at is lawsuits.
Yeah,
well,
finally,
I mean, patent issues.
Good news, baby.
Some amazing Nintendo news. Nintendo gets shut down by Japan's patent office. Nintendo's defense gets rejected yet again. Nintendo is trying to secure a patent that has become one of the key legal weapons in a lawsuit against Palworld developer Pocket Pair, which they are not winning at this point. Well, technically they have won, but not in the opinion of
Anybody
peers.
but Nintendo.
But Nintendo. The patent centers around switching between riding a creature and throwing an object, such as a Pokeball, to capture or summon another creature in the game world. Japanese patent office has repeatedly rejected the patent, saying similar gameplay systems already existed before Nintendo filed its application. Mm-hmm. Yes, in such games as Dragon Quest, as we could even go as far as to say Monster Rancher, or the Jade Cocoon. You know, there's a million and one different. Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah, I mean, even Final Fantasy Chronicles, right? Like you're catching like different Final Fantasy characters, right? And using them in battle. It's like creature ketchums have been around. Like Pokemon came out in 1990s, and creature ketchums have been around since like the 80s, right? So like a decade before Pokemon was even a thing. So for Nintendo to sit here and act like that they are the one, like, first of all, Nintendo stole like these systems from other people, right? And the other people were like, yeah, fine, whatever, like do your thing. And now Nintendo's out here acting like they're the ones that have created this whole game mechanic. All of these game mechanics.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just so fucking funny to see like these guys are like, oh, I thought, you know, at first it's like, oh, you know, we can all share ideas, right, guys? It's not a big idea. And now that Nintendo is like a big corporation, they're like,
no,
hey,
mine.
We can't share anything. There's no sharing around these parts.
That's mine. Yeah. That's mine.
And it's so fucking comical to see, right? And even at one point, the Japanese patent office was using a fan-made Pokemon game, you know, that showcased these exact patents being used that Nintendo didn't go after, which is why it's important to go after, like this called like patent, like damn, I forgot the legal term for it, but basically the less that you fight people that use your patent or whatever, the less arguments you have to defend that, right? You can't sit there and say, well, this guy can't use my patents, but there's 30 other people that have used your patents and you haven't fought over, right? You can't do that. And that's essentially what the Japanese patent office was saying, was like, hey, well, here's a fan-made game that, you know, it does exactly all of this stuff, and you've got no problem with any of that. So, you know, but here are Nintendo's arguments. After the rejection, Nintendo filed a formal objection. Nintendo argued that the patent office combined mechanics over several older games that should not be combined. I wonder why that is. Previous games may have had similar features individually, but none of them performed the exact sequence of actions Nintendo was claiming. So, yeah, you might throw a ball and catch a guy, but you didn't throw a ball that was looking like this and did this, right? Which is stupid. Therefore, Nintendo argued its invention was still unique and deserved a patent protection. No, the fuck it doesn't. It's so stupid. Oh, you can ride a character, but you know what? Your character doesn't do this when you ride it, so therefore we need complete protection over this patent. That's not how the fuck it works.
Who's Bravo, Pat? Who's Bravo? I totally 100% agree. And I've said it many times on the podcast. I view all games as art. And when you start patenting game mechanics, you're patenting brushstrokes. What if we didn't have cross hatching? We wouldn't have Midnight Sky. What if we didn't have, still life? We wouldn't have the Mona Lisa. Once you start patenting game
Mm.
mechanics, it takes the art out of the art. It's not right. It's not fair. And I don't think it should be a
No,
thing
and
ever.
I think Nintendo was expecting to go in there and just assumed that since they were the billion dollar company that they are, that the Japanese patent office was just going to do everything that they wanted, right? Like we bring in the tax dollars, so you guys should just listen to everything we say without any kind of, repercussions. Yeah.
Pushback.
And when they didn't get that, I feel like Nintendo's now kind of having like a little tantrum, right?
Yeah, they're kind of floundering around a little
Yeah, and
bit.
now and it's essentially just pissed off the Japanese courts.
Well, it's pissed off everybody. Everybody's like, why you got to be so stupid, dude? Like, take the fucking hint. Take the L, take it on the chin. You technically won. You don't have a blemish on your record for winning your lawsuits. You've
Like
technically
we
won.
tried to be fair about this, and now you're just wanting
You're being
yeah,
a
you're just
dick.
wanting an all out win. You like you can't take 80% is not passing to you.
Oh, dude, this is 10%. They can't get 80% out of this
Well,
one.
now they keep dropping because they keep throwing a little tantrum, like, and now they're just wasting everyone's time, and it's just like, all right, you know what? Now we're getting pissed off.
They, this takes me back to my recount days. But the patent office fires back, right? The patent office wasn't convinced. Officials reported that Nintendo was simply repeating arguments it had already made. Yes, those arguments had already been considered during the original examination. Nintendo failed to provide any new evidence that changed the conclusion. The prior games still made Nintendo's invention invasion obvious, meaning they did not qualify for the patent. The patent office essentially told Nintendo, your opinion cannot be adopted. Or legal experts say this wording is unusually blunt for Japanese government correspondence. Japanese government documents are typically extremely polite and unusually direct wording is why the decision has gone viral.
Yeah, like honestly, Nintendo should have just taken their L or their W and just walked away. But instead, they can't. Like, and
Now they can.
they're not going to now either. Even after,
Yeah.
the Japanese courts are essentially saying like, "Yo, y'all are in the wrong. Nothing can change our mind about this. We're tired of like
Yo, we gave you 30 grand. Shut
right?
up.
You literally came to us, you said these exact arguments. We told you that these exact arguments are already in plenty of other games even before Pokemon was even a thing. And now you're still telling us these same exact arguments. You're sitting here saying, well, none of those guys had Pokemon. No one else has Pokemon in their game either. So why the fuck are you
Mm-hmm.
needing to patent a whole mechanic based on the design of your games? Like that's not how this
But we had
works.
little hand drawn creatures.
And no
Yeah.
one else
And
is. Like you're getting copyright. And I believe that this was something that they did bring up in the courts originally was they said like you're getting copyright claims confused with patent law. Like this isn't the place for that shit.
yeah.
So, why is Nintendo so frustrated at this outcome? Because this patent matters a lot. Nintendo has already filed lawsuits based on several gameplay patents. Losing this patent removes any other legal tool it hoped to use against Palworld. Instead of accepting the rejection, Nintendo keeps filing objections, trying to convince the patent office to change its mind. And so far, the patent office has rejected every single one of them. Rightfully so. Finally, the law is
Yeah.
in the right hands.
I just think that they're sick and tired of the hissy fit, just like everybody else
Yeah,
is.
I mean, this is a blatant show of we have money and this we're going to use it, right? And
Hmm.
Nintendo is an extremely litigious company. Everybody knows that. Nintendo's also very successful with their lawsuits. It's very rare that you hear Nintendo lose a lawsuit. So for Nintendo to lose this lawsuit, this is a very important law. I would say this is probably one of the most important lawsuits Nintendo has had to face. If Nintendo loses this lawsuit, then their IP, their patents, essentially are free. Anybody can
Hmm.
can create a Pokemon, right? Um,
A creature
a
catch 'em.
creature catch 'em. Yes, like a very basic creature catch 'em, by the way. Not even just a creature catch 'em, because like we discussed in earlier episodes of the podcast, this doesn't just affect creature catch 'em games. This affects games like Fable and like
Hogwarts
yeah,
Legacy.
like all types of games. This isn't just one genre of game. This affects all of gaming. All because one company, once again, couldn't listen to their fan base. They didn't want to give their customers something that their customers wanted. So their customers went out of the way to create something that they wanted, and now they're getting hurt for it. Yeah.
What does this mean for the lawsuit? Nintendo's lawsuit against Pocket Pair continues. I don't understand why. This rejection doesn't end the case. However, Nintendo cannot rely on a patent that doesn't exist. That means one of Nintendo's proposed legal arguments is becoming increasingly unlikely to survive. Every rejected patent makes Nintendo's overall legal strategy a little narrower. Yeah, we said this way back, actually. The last time we reported on this whole thing is that every time that Nintendo goes back to the drawing board to try to figure out how to stick it to Pocket Bear, everybody gets a little more pissed off.
Yeah, because it's just showing like it's it's your typical we have money, we have more money than you, and this is how we get ahead and win is by spending more money than you. And I think as a culture, we're kind of getting sick of that shit. I'm getting sick of being bullied around by these large corporations for all the wrong reasons because simply you were able to scam your customers, versus us.
Mhm.
You're able to scam your customers. Like that's not how it goes. Just because you make more money than me doesn't mean you're able to tell me the type of game that I'm able to make. That's not how this works, and it shouldn't work like that. When all your customers, and for years, we were talking about this before Pal World was even a thing. For years, we talked about how Pokemon is the same fucking game.
Yeah, it's the same thing over and
Yeah,
over.
you can't tell a Pokemon game, you can't tell the difference between a Pokemon game on the DS versus a Pokemon game on the Game Boy Advanced. You can't. They're the same. It's the same fucking thing. And in fact,
Hmm.
it got to the point where Game Freak got sick of making the same fucking thing over and over again that they had to create Beasts of Reincarnation because the studio was physically going insane just making the same game over and over and over again. This is what Game Freak was saying, by the way. These are words from Game Freak. They were sick of making the
Yeah.
same game. So they had to expand their artistic ability by creating Beasts of Reincarnation. So if you have your own
They had to
studio,
prove to themselves they could do more than just
the same
Pokemon.
Pokemon game. So if you have
Yeah.
even the studio famous for these games saying that they're sick of making the same fucking game and their customers are crying out to you, give us a different Pokemon game. And Nintendo's like, no, bitch, sit down. We'll make whatever the fuck we want. Then you can't complain when your customers go off and get what they want. That's not how
Yep.
business works. The minute you stop
Nope.
serving your customers is the minute your customers move on to someone that's willing to service them.
Yeah. Once you stop being competitive.
Welcome to Business 101. And that's the problem with these corporations is that's their goal. Their goal is to be so big that there's no longer any competition. But that
Mhm.
competition is what keeps you engaged with your customers. It keeps it keeps your customer base. If you and I weren't competing against every other podcast, then we would just be floating by, not giving a fuck. And that's how you lose your customers. You stop caring about your customers. You stop caring about the people that care about your product. And that's what happened to Nintendo. And Nintendo is just too big of a giant to give a fuck. It's gonna bite them in the butt one day, and it has
Yeah, I think it's already bit him in the butt
several times,
over and
and
over
rightfully
and
so, and
over.
rightfully so. So, what about the US? Nintendo is also pursuing similar patent protections inside the US. Japan's decision doesn't automatically affect the US court's decision. However, if the US patent examiners also conclude the mechanic isn't original, Nintendo could face similar setbacks here. And that is big because, I mean, although Nintendo hasn't sued anybody specifically in the US like they have in Japan, they are trying to set it up to sue somebody. That's why they filed all
Yeah.
of these patents. And I feel like they learned from the Japanese because they sued Power World and then filed for the patents, right? Whereas here in
Yeah.
the US, they're trying to file the patents and then sue Power World. And I feel like,
And then Sue
yeah, and I feel
Power.
like in Japan, that really hurt their case by
Hmm.
by having
Trying to do this in the reverse.
exactly. And but the US has also rejected all of their patents here too. So,
Yeah, because they don't have a foot to stand on. They're being rejected in Japan.
mhm.
Like you had field advantage and you still losing, bro. Like just take the L. It just gets more and more
That
frustrating the longer that this
that
goes
would
on.
be the smart thing to do, but unfortunately, I think Nintendo is too egotistical to take the L. And
It's not even an L though. They fucking won
yeah,
technically.
but it's still an L in the public like as the public perceives it, right? Everyone sees this as Power World has won. Power World 1.0 is released, and it's released to massive success, which is just another, like, just putting Nintendo's nose in dog shit, right?
Well, it's even more so because they can't even originally when they were filing these patents, they keep having to broaden their terms because Power World keeps changing shit. Pocket Pair keeps changing shit. They're like, hey, you can't do this, and Pocket Pair is like, all right, and they change it. You know, like you don't get three shakes out of the sphere anymore.
Mm.
You know, you get the two
More than three
where it
shakes is
pops out
considered playing with
beforehand.
yourself. Just remember.
Exactly. And so like you can't Nintendo is trying so hard to beat Pocket Pair, but every time they do, Pocket Pair is right there just accepting the fact that yeah, Nintendo's right. We can't do this. And then they automatically change it and then guess what? The court's like, "Okay, what was this for? It's not doing it anymore." Oh,
Or
well, like what argument do you have to
or
that?
their argument is so broad that it's like this is describing every game known to man, right?
Well, they've had to broaden those terms
Like
because Pocket Pair has answered their claims.
how are you supposed to patent somebody throwing a ball or I'm sorry, a ball is not broad enough. A spherical object that could be anything from a rock to a grenade to like literally anything. Just like an energy
Mm-hmm.
ball. Like it doesn't even have to be to
Summoning an
yeah,
animal,
summoning an
dude.
animal.
When you call a horse to jump on it in any one of what is it the Japanese one, the Ghost of Tsushima or Ghost of Yotai,
Mm.
when you call your horse, that's summoning an animal.
Yeah, or even something as simple as just summoning a summon in Final Fantasy, right?
Boom.
Like this is the same to fight
Something that's been
alongside
there since
alongside
the
you.
mid 80s.
Yeah, and that's been a game mechanic that happened 20 years before Pokemon was even a thought. So like to sit there like I said, I think Nintendo thought this was going to be a slam dunk case. Well, we make we're a huge Japanese corporation. The Japanese courts are definitely going to be on our side. And even though Pocket Pair is also a Japanese corporation, they're a much smaller Japanese corporation, and they're clearly going to see that these guys copied the bigger people. And it didn't work like that for them. And I think that's a very hard pill for them to swallow. And I love seeing them try to choke it down.
Oh, me too. Oh, I'm loving watching them reach for the glass of water that's non-existent.
Hell yeah.
It's so
and
good.
every single time this comes up, I'm going to report on it because it brings me so much joy. And my doctor said I need more joy in my life. So
Well, not for nothing, Pat, but we were on that side of things when Nillen was telling us about it original. We were like, this game is so close to a Pokemon game, it's going to get sued all to hell because all those Pokemon lookalikes and all those Pokemon type games kept coming out and they kept fucking trashing them. The mods for Minecraft and other Pokemon mods that were around. They hopped on all of those and got all of those taken down because why? We want it, ours, mine,
mm-hmm.
right? And they thought they were going to have a slam dunk with this one too because they were on a roll, dude. They had taken down a bunch. I can't even say it any other way. They had taken down a bunch of people or a bunch of different projects that all used their IP to a certain extent. And I can't say that they were very wrong about it, but with this, it was so different. And I think what really changed this for the better for Pocket Pair was the fact that they kept changing shit. They didn't get rid of the game. They didn't stop the game. They just said, okay. And then they changed it. And they were like, all right, yeah, no, that's against the law. You're right. Boop, gone.
Mm-hmm.
They had the ability to do that. And because they were so flexible with it, they ended up not making a game, but they ended up fine tuning their game to be as close to a Pokemon wannabe in the glasses of a mature 30-year-old.
Yeah.
So I think Pocket Pair went about it smart and Nintendo just went about it cocky.
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree. And it's bit them in the butt. And like I said, I love being here and reporting on it. And I will continue to do so because when these corporations take an L, I take a W.
And friends, if you have any thoughts on the whole Nintendo thing, go ahead down in the comments below. Let us know what you think and let us know what you don't think. Let us know if you liked it. Let us know if you didn't.